Welcome to the Turbo John YouTube channel. We're gonna make another post today. We're switching Chris Moore's truck over to alcohol. So it's on gas. He's been over at Brian's. Done a video on it the other week on how to convert from gas to methanol. So he's been over there doing the final touches, trying to get it all done. It is mostly done. So really they're just waiting on me now. So they got a couple of odds and end things to do. So today he's on Holley EFI. I'm gonna show you what I do to get it pretty close to get it started. This is what we do in the computer to go from gasoline to methanol. Check it out. All right, here we go. So we're opening up the Holley system. So one of the things, this is pretty easy. This stuff is super easy. So the first thing you need to do is, see, I've got some tunes saved here. And this is like my digger die, where we were down at 710. This is the one I modify every single race. And this is Chris Moore's gasoline tune-up. So the first thing you want to do, we know this one is the one that was running in his truck. It's fine. It was actually running. So you open this thing up, you come in here to File, and you hit Save Global File As. This is going to give us a chance to create another file, and it's going to be methanol. So all I'm going to do is go in here and rename it methanol, and hit Save. And boom, there it is. It's converted it. And so just that easy, you can see I'm in methanol here. So what I'll do here, I'll come back down and you see, we got version 5 and stuff. That's what we've been using on Randy's. But mine and Chris's is still in version 4. We've got the HP. We'll eventually upgrade to version 5 and do the firmware upgrades and all that to get it upgraded. But right now, it's just not. So I'm gonna open it back up. Open global file. So now check it out. See, I got two. I got a gasoline file and a methanol file. So that's going to make it super easy. So we got a methanol open up earlier. So I got the gas open up now. So now if you come down here, you can see I can toggle between each one. So this is, some people just go ahead and close one out and they just stay in one, and that's fine. But anytime you make a change, you want to make sure that you're in the one that you actually are trying to modify. I have done that before, switching back and forth, looking at them, and then, you're in the wrong file. So some people just, they close it, and that way there's no chance of that happening. But so it's pretty easy. So I'm gonna be in the methanol file here. So first thing we gotta do is we gotta come to the computer screen here. This is the major, the changes. This is one of the first things I always do. We're going to convert the fuel type here from gasoline to methanol. Okay, so we're also going to take this and go, actual system pressure is going to be 85 pounds. He's got the same injectors that I do. Fuel pump prime, 85 psi is actually what it is. Now this right here, this is your injectors. So you see, it's got different injectors in here, and some of them, like the MRE, those are Morans, which are billet atomizers, but we don't have, the 550 precisions in here, and he's got the same injector I got. So you can hit custom. So you got a custom injector. So one of the things you got to do here, this is very important. His rated injector is 550 pounds. And that's at 85 psi. So that's actually where that fuel number comes from. Like you noticed in the smaller injectors, this thing, it's at 43 or 45, 50 psi. So it's a lot smaller. So this is pretty easy to do. There's nothing to do other than this right now in here. The other thing we do have to do, since this is a very big injector, it's a 550. Usually Holley runs on a 4-to-1 peak and hold, I think is what they call it. Let's see. So we want to convert that over to 8.2 peak and hold. And you can see all I did was Google search it, and then the first one, Holley 8.2 peak and hold, and the first one that come up is here. And then this is the actual how to set this up. And the reason this is important is these big injectors, when they have a lot of pressure, they have very high amp draw on the system. So this is what you want to do, and this is just in the that Holley document, it tells you what you're doing. If you're doing 16 injectors or if you're doing 8 injectors with a single, that's what we're doing. 8 injectors, 8 injector drivers, 8.2 amp drive, and a single injector set, and that's for the HP and the Dominator. So, you know, the Holley can do a whole bunch of different things. But so anytime you're doing a big injector, let's go over here in the methanol, 3 injector sets. And you can see it opens up some different things here. We are going to also have to change this. This is the injector off time, and I had some issues with that when I first started with mine, but it's not too bad. Okay, so I called precision and got the actual number there, but we'll go back to that in a second. Okay, so it says injector number 2, you put it at 0.1 pounds, 43 psi. And all this is doing is giving it it's making, all these numbers are making it so the computer knows, okay, well, this is going to be, you know, what it needs to do. So now you come down here to this one, hit the wrong thing. 8 injector setup, single option, 8 injectors, 8.2. This is something else that's important that he's got to do with his. There's a 20 gauge wire that supplies hot to all 8 of those injectors. So when you put a big injector on it, what you have to do is you have to take the actual wiring harness apart. It's got 120, and then on each side it splits out. It's got 4, and that's a 20 gauge, 20 gauge, 20 gauge, 20 gauge. So what you do is either you go to 110 to 12 to feed all 8, or either you do 2 14 gauge. So a 14 gauge comes in and then splits to the 420s, and then that goes directly to power. So this is actually what you do here. So 0.1, 43, 0.1 pounds injector flow there for both of those. So you got 500 pounds for injector 1, your actual pressure, and then 0.1 and 43, 0.1 and 43, and then 100% duty cycle. So let's go over there. 0.1, 43, 0.1, 43, and then duty cycle activation is 100%. And that is, now we're set. So another thing you can do as you're going is something I always try to do is once you get through with the screen, hit save, and then it'll ask you, do you want to save it? And then yes. That's a couple things in there. So let's go back to this injector off time. If this is wrong, the injector does not behave properly. So I don't know, it's a little above my pay grade. I don't really understand it 100% completely, but I know mine was not running worth a crap, and then I ended up calling Precision, and they gave me this table. And so what we're going to do real fast is, the easiest thing to do is to go into, since these tunes get saved, I'm going to go into mine, because I've got the same set of injectors, and there it is right there. So I should be able to copy and paste copy. You see these numbers are different than the other one. So now we got to get in Chris's methanol tune, which is right there. Here's more methanol. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna hit paste. Bam. So now that one is identical to mine. There's mine, 1.0. There's his. Make sure the voltages are the same. Okay, so yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna go down there. But right now, I don't need any more out of mine, and I don't want to accidentally mess with mine, so I'm gonna close mine back out. So now I've got Chris's methanol and gas back up there. And you see I can go into the gas one here, and you can see what the difference was when you actually click on it. And now you can go back and forth. And you see there's a huge difference there. So that's the gas. Let's go back to methanol. So now we want to save again. So all this is correct now. So, I don't really understand the whole dynamics of that scenario. I don't need to understand that as long as it works. That's a little little above me. I'm sure Devin or somebody can probably give a more detailed explanation of that. Okay, so next thing, coming over here to the fuel. So we switched it over to methanol in this scenario here. So now it knows that we're in methanol. So when you go over to the fuel scale, when you go over to this target table here, you can see it's a pretty basic graph. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's nothing fancy. Down here is the low RPM, the idle, and then it comes up and it just gradually, gets a little bit richer as it goes up there. And this will always be your rich corner. Some maps are a lot different than that. They're not quite as pretty. You see there's a couple peaks and valleys in there, but it's not too bad. This was actually a running map though. And so it's pretty close on gasoline. We give it a little bit of correction ability. We give it a little bit of room to correct itself. But so now we know gasoline. So we're in the base fuel map here. And you can convert this over to volumetric efficiency too. I mean, you can see this thing looking at the VE. It changes, different numbers in there. I tune it in pounds per hour. Shannon, he likes to look at the VE table. There's a lot of people that do it with VE. I mean, there's a lot of computer systems that's all they use is the VE. But I like the pounds per hour for me. So this is the pounds per hour. So you go into your target air fuel ratio. So this was for gas. So stoic for gasoline is 14.7. Stoic, that is perfect, 1.0 lambda. So that's stoic. For methanol, it's different. So the lambda, 1.0 lambda for methanol is 6.4. So now that we've turned it to methanol in the main screen here, we told it it's on methanol. These numbers over here in the fuel, in the target, are going to be wrong because it's like, 11.6, that doesn't make sense. That's stupid lean in there. So now we got to build a graph. He's got to, and all cars are a little bit different. But most of the cars that I've done on methanol, they like to be a little bit fatter. And there's a lot of people that may, disagree with this. But I'm gonna just put some numbers in here, and it's a very flat curve, but I mean, it is what it is. Let's see here. So right there, I wanted about 4.0. Then the lower the number, of course, the richer it gets. And at some point, it's going to get a little too rich, and then if it's too rich, then it'll, hydraulic or, flood the motor up. So we're going to just put this up here at like 3.5, just to be safe. And he doesn't have the super duper coils on it that are super MSD ones. I mean, clearly, when you have a strong ignition, you're going to need more fuel. It's like a magneto. So that's not what we got. He's running like the same coils I have, the D585s. So this right here is going to be a pretty good target air fuel ratio range. So 4.8 or so when it's idling. It may need to be a little bit richer than that. Mine idles, I think, at like 4.6. But that, man, milks the oil pretty bad, so you have to change the oil more frequently. But that, that is what it is. If you lean it out too much through here, then you lose all your throttle response, and it'll start popping. You can put a bunch of fuel in like the transfer circuit. I'll show you that, the acceleration enrichment table. But sometimes that's just more problematic. So I like it, somewhere in this range. And you can see as it starts making boost, so, right here when it's coming up on boost, it's 4.6, 5 pounds of boost, 4.4. And then as it comes up and the boost starts coming up, it's going to start getting richer. And, this up here, I mean, at 40 pounds of boost right now for mine, I think I'm at 3.8, 3.9. Timing makes a difference on this, as well, how hot you actually, run the plug, and the timing is going to make a difference on what kind of air fuel ratio you need as well. There's a whole bunch of different theories out there. Methanol is about 50% oxygen by weight. So in theory, the more methanol you put in it, the more oxygen you got in it. That's why it takes so much more fuel, though, is because it's bringing this oxygen to the party. So in theory, you could run this thing at 3.2, 3.0, and as long as you have a strong enough ignition to light it off, it should make more power. But for these stock LS coils, You know, I've run mine down at 3.5, 3.6, but it picks up tremendous amount of horsepower at 3.8 to 4.0. So, you know, that's where we're going to target. So check this out. So I'm going to pull up. Let me go ahead and take and get this screen over here. This is the gasoline scale. I'm going to get it to the fuel base map. There's the fuel base map for gas. So that's where we're at here. So when I change this target air fuel ratio, check this out. I'm gonna go back to the base and it's gonna ask me, do I want to change? The target air fuel ratio values have changed. Would you like to automatically adjust? So the answer now is no. And so sometimes, and usually I say no anyway, but sometimes you can say yes. Like if you're making a change from 3.8 to 3.7, then it'll adjust that line on the normal fuel table. But since I'm converting it today, I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna show you why. So we're gonna come in here. This is your basic map. So now we're back to the normal fuel map again. So this is, you know, labeled as methanol, but it's the gasoline one. And so this is very simple. So all you gotta do, and this is, you come in here and you highlight all of these, and then you simply right click, and then it's going to say offset selected. And so here we know the brake specific fuel consumption of methanol is a lot higher. So generally, you know, 150% more fuel is going to be about where you need to be. So this is super simple. I don't know if all computer systems are like this, but this one makes it super easy. So you just simply come up here and hit percent, and then we want to do 150% increase. And so watch these numbers. These numbers are going to jump up, and they're going to jump up by 150%. The EFI, the Holley, the software does all the math for us. But watch that 750 right there. Let's see. Well, they're all going to change and go up. So 750 is now 1875. And you can do the basic math here, and you know, and do it based on your individual calculators. But now we still got these little bumps here and there. I'm not gonna worry about smoothing those little spots out. I mean, you could go in there and grab the high spots. I mean, and the good thing about this color-coded graph is you can kind of see, you know, where it starts changing as far as the volume. And so this is going to be a pretty close fuel map. You know, the computer's got the ability to correct. So you know, we're going to let it do some closed loop correction. It should be within a percent or so, 2%, 3%, but the computer can handle that. So this is the good fuel map, and if you want to, I'm gonna go ahead and save it. And it's gonna ask me these few questions, but that is good. So now we got a save fuel map. It's 150% more. Fuel graph is there. Target air fuel ratio is here. Now, if I would have hit yes here earlier, then that fuel map would have probably been a lot richer, just because these numbers in lambda for the methanol scale are a lot richer than what we were previously. So you know, usually it takes a few more passes, but we can go and verify. So let's go look at his versus mine, and they're going to be a little different, but so I changed something in here. So this is a good point. So I was exiting out of Chris Moore's gas tune, and I shouldn't have modified that one any. So it's asking me, do I want to change anything? And that answer should be no. So I don't want to change that. So let's pull up mine. I'm gonna pull up my base graph, and it should be pretty close. It's not going to be 100% accurate or the same. It's not going to be 100% the same, but it'll be close. So let's look. So we got his and mine. So pick a number. So let's say right there, 58 on mine, and his is 58.1. And you see some of the numbers are changed a little bit above, but let's pick. 358 to 356. So you can see it's pretty close. And then you can come up here, 1802 on mine, 1869 on his. And they're going to vary a little bit. His is a little richer up here, like in the high boost, but mine's not really. Mine's tuned right there is my max that I've been. So you see, mine don't use a ton of fuel. So 4340. His is at, I'm sorry, 2430 is what mine is at, and his is at 26. So his is a little bit richer up there, but that's fine. The computer can handle that, and we can. I don't know if he's gonna run it up that high or not. But 35 pounds of boost, 7500, 1988. See, his is a little bit richer right there, but that's fine. The computer, this is going to get us really, really close on our tune. So I think this is going to be a good fuel map. We'll modify it as we go. There again, this is just a base start, and we'll do some trans brake testing and some half track passes, and eventually we'll get exactly where we want to be and make some full track passes. And he may end up throwing this thing on the dyno. I mean, we may get this thing started up, and he may want to go hop on a chassis dyno or hub dyno somewhere. So that's fine too. So we'll see. Now we got our fuel graph. See, it still looks basically the same. And I mean, once this thing gets in there and starts correcting some, I mean, this thing will be pretty blotchy coming up, and then we'll have to go in there. So here goes what we got for our next thing up here. We got our target, like I was saying. So this is our target air fuel ratio. Now he already has an NTK sensor. That is very important. I didn't mention that. You got to have an NTK sensor to read methanol. You got two options. You got Bosch or NTK. NTK is a little bit more expensive, but that's definitely what you want to do. So coming on down, let's look at your acceleration enrichment. This is basically, if you got a carburetor, it's your accelerator circuit, your squirter. So this is what happens when you first give it gas. It gives this amount of gas because it takes a little bit of time for the injectors to catch. So that's all this is this, and it's a pump of fuel. So this run pretty good. So let's do that basic math again. So 15, this run pretty good and took the fuel. 15 times 2.4, which is kind of the number that I use, so 36. So we're going to take this first one right here to 36, and then we got 45 down here, and this is just basically it's just adding more fuel. And this is just, I mean, obviously we're going to have to modify this as we go, but this will get us a base tune up to swap over so that it should crank up and run no problem. So 108, and then you just go in here, smooth it, fill row values, and boom, there is your acceleration enrichment. So that's no problem there. So fuel modifiers here, we're not going to change anything here. All this is the same. Startup enrichment, same thing. We need to make it richer. So let's do the math. So 35 times 2.4, 84. I'm just going to, basically just make this so that it just all comes up, and then the starting fuel, I'll bring this up, so 22.4. Let's see, 6.9, 16.5, so 16.5. So then from there to, that needs to go up probably maybe like right there. So then we can take this one and fill row values. So now we got the same basic curve as we did before. So that's your startup enrichment. So that's your cranking fuel. So cranking, this thing's got a fuel, a mechanical drive pump on it. So sometimes it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get started. So you need to come in here, go into this is in your advanced table up here. So it's a 2D. You want to enable the table, fuel flow offset. This is that what it's called? Fuel flow, fuel pressure. So it's a fuel flow multiplier. And so this is table number 2. So you come down here, and this is telling you pressure. So you got 15 spots down here. So now we got all these done. And so this is just guessing. I mean, this is something that helps, when you're going. We don't know how much fuel pressure this thing's gonna make, but we know generally when they spin over slow, they don't give you a lot of pressure. So this is percentage increase, and this is something Devin, he pointed out a long time ago. You know, this is huge, and so I'll go down to like 8 to 0. And so basically you want to, why won't it let me go more than 500? Mine will let me go like 600 or 700. Is there a range? So we're gonna do like 500, and then we'll go out to like 8. Basically, you're just trying to make this thing hold the injectors open, so that when it has less fuel pressure, it's trying to just hang the injector open so that it just puts all the fuel till it can. So that's basically all you need to do there. So let's save this. So that's basically it. So that gets us to where, I mean, we should be pretty close. You know, I don't think I have forgotten anything, you know, the big things I've done over here. So shoot, I mean, I think that's it. We're not gonna mess with the ignition timing any at all yet. You know, any of this stuff, we're gonna leave all this the same for right now. And it's pretty low on timing as well, so I mean, it's gonna need probably 3 or 4 degrees of timing. Generally, methanol wants to be a little bit more timing, but I mean, I think we're gonna be close here. Metric efficiency. And you can see it's like in the peak torque is where you supposedly need the most amount of fuel. And you can see that's down somewhere in here is lower RPM. That's going to be your peak torque. You know, 5,800, 6,000, 6,100. When you go into closed loop, it's got 25% on both. That'll bite you in the butt sometimes though if you're not careful. But that's where we'll put it out to start with, and it'll you know, you make a half track pass, and you know, we'll do some trans brake tests with it and stuff, and then you just go from there, see what it's learning, and then you just go on the data. So that's it. That's the basic. That's what I do. I mean, it takes a little bit of time to go through and do it, but it's not hard. It's not difficult. I mean, there's probably a more precise way to do it and get it exactly perfect, but I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm redneck, backwoods, budget oriented. So this is my non-Steve Petty way on how to do from gasoline to methanol. And he'll probably get it. I mean, he could probably get it and have it, you know, 0% correction on all of them, because just, I mean, they're bad. But you know, it is what it is. We'll see how close it is. It should be within a few percent, you know, tune in from that point. So we'll try it and see. All right, guys, y'all comment, like, and subscribe. Sorry for the super long video. Y'all take care. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Stay away from people that are coughing and sneezing. And hopefully we'll be back to racing soon. But we'll put this thing in Chris's car soon, and we'll get it fired up. I'll let y'all know. Thanks.